am I hugging it? I love it so much that I just wanna hug it. You don't see that often, do you? People hugging books. Hi there, friends. Welcome back to my channel. As always, thank you so much for being here. So today is a bit of an exciting one, at least for me. We are reviewing this book. I just love this book so much that I'm honestly, yeah, I need to keep it together so I make sense, so I'm not too excited, so my voice does not get too high pitched, and so that this makes sense. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. I don't even want to make this intro long. Let's do it. Okay, so what I will say is I was immediately drawn to this book. I read the synopsis and I knew immediately that this is my type of book. So the reason I was really hooked just from reading the synopsis was the fact that I think this is a highly spiritual book. I really do. And I don't care what the author says. I don't care what the author labels it as. I don't care what anybody else says. Actually, for me, this is a deeply spiritual book. I saw the fact that there is water involved in the story, actively involved. There is dancing. There is storytelling. And those three things just so happen to be my spiritual modalities. And if you know me, you know I'm highly spiritual. So when I saw that these three elements were included in the book, I knew there was going to be a spiritual book. Also because as Black people, Indigenous people, we are highly spiritual. But that's a chat for another day. Let's get into this book and let's get into the story and the characters and my thoughts on it. So the book is told by Hiram Walker, who is the protagonist. And when we first meet him, he's 19 years old. We meet him when he's just had an accident. The carriage that he was riding, the carriage that he was in charge of, fell over into a river. So we meet him trying to swim to shore, but we also meet this other character who is drowning and calling out to him to come save him. It's a very confusing yet captivating scene, the way we first meet him. So this, and also you are introduced to this blue light that seems to be helping Hiram get to the shore. So immediately the first few pages, you have so many questions. Like, who is the other character that is dying? And why is he so reliant on Hiram? What is this blue light about? You know, there's just so many questions that you ask yourself, and I feel like it's so enthralling. The first few pages are so enthralling that you can't help but want to carry on reading. So after the first, like, you know, the very mysterious chapter where you just don't really fully understand what's going on. So later on, the following chapters are really about getting to know Hiram, right? We know that he is blonde. We know that he's born to an enslaved mother on a tobacco plantation in Virginia. We also know that his dad is white and his dad is actually the plantation owner. So already that creates a picture of the world that Hiram is born into and how he's born into that world, right? We are introduced to Hiram as a child, right? And we're introduced to him in this frantic moment that he's having. He's looking for his mother, but his mother has been sold. So his mother's not really missing as he thinks, as the child thinks. It's actually because the mother has been sold. So after Hiram cannot find his mother, he goes and lives with this older lady in the street called Thina. She's not like the most warm-hearted woman or nurturing, but we find out why she's not like that. But yeah, Hiram finds a home with Thina. So we quickly get to know Hiram, and we get to know that he's got impeccable memory. Like, he can remember anything and everything. He can remember things like they are just happening. They just happened right now. He has excellent memory, and in fact, that's how he catches his dad's attention, because remember, he's living with the other enslaved people. He's not in the house. So at that point, he becomes someone who lives in the house with the dad. He doesn't live in the house. He lives in a dungeon below the house, but it's still considered better than his previous situation. So eventually, as you can imagine, with all enslaved people, Hiram gets the idea of, I want to run away. This is not a life I want to live. I want to escape to the north where I can be a free man. So he tries running away with this lady who he has fallen for. So they attempt to do so, and unfortunately he gets caught. Yeah, and the book goes into just what happens to him as a man who tried to run away and is now caught. It gets quite graphic, it gets quite hard to read, but this is what happens to Hiram. So eventually, Hiram is recruited by the underground, which is a widespread network of secret agents. And the reason they recruit him because they see him as a asset because of his memory, but they also recruit him because of his, the blue light. So during the accident, someone saw him being saved by the blue light. So eventually we learn that Hiram is considered as someone who's gifted with the ability to conduct. So throughout the whole book, through most of the book, we are following Hiram as he is learning about his gift, learning how to conduct, and conduction. I'm not going to say what conduction is because it gives away a lot and I don't want to spoil that for you. I just really enjoyed learning what conduction is, and I really want to leave that for you. Yeah, I want you to enjoy that too. What I will say, and it goes back to the point I was making earlier on about water, right? About dancing and about storytelling. So those three elements are involved in conduction, and conduction really is about I will say this, it's about saving enslaved people. That's all I will say. And then you can figure out the rest while you read the book. I just don't wanna spoil that for you. I think you will enjoy it. You will enjoy that portion. Oh, one more thing I will say is Hiram eventually ends up in the north and becomes a free man and works with the underground, and he learns more about conduction. But when he was recruited by the underground, remember, he still has Thina, the mother figure that he has, still living at the plantation. Sophia, the lady he fell in love with and actually tried escaping with, she was brought back to the plantation. So he has those two people to think of, and he wants to go save them. And so that's exactly what he does. Okay, so that was the story. That's pretty much the story when it comes to the water dancer. As you can tell, I tried to give you a detailed synopsis without like spoiling certain things for you, without having spoilers, just because I think there's certain parts that you just don't see coming, and it's really exciting when you eventually get to certain milestones, if you will, in the book, and certain discoveries. It's just really well done, and I don't want to give that, I don't want to give too much away. But as you can tell, I really loved this book. It's obviously a hard read. We are talking about enslaved people. We're talking about a man whose dad is a slave owner. We're talking about a man who gets caught trying to run, and the type of things that he goes through. Who eventually, do you know what I mean? I've told you the story. There's no need to repeat it. It's a hard story, definitely to get through. But what the author does really well is he privileges the enslaved people. And by that I mean you see their humanity. You see their resilience. You see their spirituality. Yes, that's the thing. Chef's kiss. That's the thing I loved the most about this book, because it almost feels like a reminder of our power as a people. And it's also a great reminder that what they tried to do to enslaved people is have them believe that they come from nothing or are nothing. And yet the enslaved people kept stories of who they were, who they are, and who, what they come from. And it's through those stories, it's through that remembrance that they were able to strengthen themselves. They were able to survive the things that they survived. Okay, so I need to wrap up. This video is getting quite long. So things I loved about the book. The author changes certain words. He changes enslaved to tossed. And there's just so much power in words. And I feel like changing these words like you gain a different perspective. Yeah, you just gain a different perspective. And it gives the enslaved people humanity. Another thing I love, Hiram is surrounded by powerful female characters. The author captures the tossed people. He captures their emotions so eloquently. So he captures them like he's been enslaved too. Do you know what I mean? He captures their feelings like he was once a tossed person. Do you know what I mean? So that was my book review of this. Was this even a book review, or was I just praising the book? Maybe we just call it a book praise video. I don't know. Even if I didn't consider it to be a highly spiritual book, I will still love it just based on its literary merit. I think it's a great book, and the author says he took 10 years to write it, and it really, really shows. So yeah, that's it. So I am going to end it here. I know that was quite long, but I really wanted to give this book the praise that it deserves. And comment below if you've read it. Anyway, I'm feeling so tired after the book review. I feel like I was coming from a really passionate place that I exhausted myself. Anyway, so wrapping up here, friends. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Anyway, goodbye. Stay well.